Pretend this tortilla is a crepe. And these moist pieces of cheese that I packed last night are the contents of your crepe. Nutella, strawberries, bananas, those are my favorites. What you want to do is you want to put the contents of your crepe on one side. Only one side. Don't let it leak onto the other side. And when you start rolling your crepe, you don't want to fold and then roll. We're not from there. But you want to just roll from the contents that are laying on this side. So roll and lay it flat, and you have your crepe. Now, that probably made it seem like I knew exactly what I was talking about, but before September 2021, I had no idea how to properly fold a crepe. Even though I don't think it's rocket science, I never knew the actual details and the very detailed things that went into folding a crepe until I met Charlotte. And all thanks to her, now I know how to properly fold a crepe. Charlotte stayed in my house for 6 months, and she was my exchange student from Belgium. And those 6 months were the shortest 6 months I'd ever gone through. I never knew that I would be able to have such a valuable friendship and such a big support system through the exchange student program in only 6 months. And from as early as I can remember, the guest bedroom in my house was always occupied by 1 or 2 exchange students from China, Korea, Japan, Belgium, and even Italy. Time flew by, and now we have been a host family here in Canada for 17 years, and I'm only 18. And so whether you know someone that's actually an exchange student, or maybe you've hosted someone in your house that is one, or in your class or workplace, someone had just moved here to Canada, I bet that all of us have crossed paths with someone internationally. And in my short time with Charlotte and the many amazing exchange students that I've met, I've learned a lot of lessons and gained a lot of friendships. So today I would like to encourage you all by telling you about how making and opening our lives to these international relationships can, 1, help us learn more about people's cultures, 2, remove the habit that we may have about being picky when making new friendships, and 3, how to truly learn the true effort that must be put into a friendship. The first thing that I have learned from my exchange students is about their cultures and about their families. Obviously, with the click of a button and a few typing skills, you would be able to find out every single thing about every single country in the world. But there is something different about directly learning about a culture, right from someone who is experiencing it and living actively in it. Now, culture is defined as a set of patterns of human activity that a social group like us or a community practices, along with its symbolic structures that give significance to each activity. And in that way, my family has been exposed to many cultures and many set of daily patterns, whether that's how to make matcha properly from Japan, how to fold a crepe, or even the one that I am most skeptical about, doing 100 jumping jacks every morning. And one of them is the reason why my mom will never drink cold water. About 7 years ago, there was a boy in Japan who lived in my house, and one morning he had abruptly stopped my mom before she was about to drink her ice cold water. He then went on to explain that his family and his community all believe that the only water beneficial for you is warm water. Now, I'm not sure if that's true, but my mom definitely believes in it. And to this day, she has never, ever asked for a cup of cold water. She'll even pour it down the drain if we forget to add some hot water in it. It's crazy. So whether it's a cup of cold water or how to properly fold a crepe, there have been little things that I've been able to learn through my exchange students. With each relationship I developed, I was able to learn little pieces of knowledge that made my life a little bit more interesting every day. And now with every relationship came not only little life tips, but also I learned the biggest lesson about myself, to remove the habit of being pick and choosy when making new friendships. When I was younger, I didn't really care about these random people living in my house, but as I grew older and I had responsibilities, I had interests, I had places to be, I didn't really have the want to make these relationships with my exchange students, just because it felt forced to me or it felt like a burden, and I didn't want to tag along someone everywhere I went. Until, like I said, I met Charlotte. Now, long story short, let's just say there were a lot of tears at the airport that day that she had to leave. But looking back now, the first night that she was at my house, she asked to borrow something. And that turned into a 2-hour-long conversation where I made a new friend. It only took a 2-hour-long conversation for me to break down that wall and make a new friend. And in that conversation, she went on to explain that the reason she was scared to come to Canada was not because of the language barrier or because of the things she had to adapt to, but because she was scared that she wasn't going to make any new friends. And she wasn't the only one who felt that way. In a survey by Karen Fisher, 1 out of 3 exchange students can say that they have no new friends in this new country that they've arrived in. Now let's look at it visually. 1 out of 3 doesn't seem that bad. That orange person represents the 1 exchange student who claims they have no friends. It doesn't seem that bad, 1 person, 2 people, but what if we put it in a bigger perspective? That's a lot of orange people. That's a lot of people who say that they have no new friends in this country where they don't even know the first language properly. And that's when I realized how selfish I had been. Why was I holding back from making new friends, especially to someone who's all alone and is so brave for trying such a new thing? Looking back now, I regret any moment that I had that I didn't want to make a new conversation with a friend. If I never had that conversation with Charlotte, I wouldn't have gained so many moments and so many valuable memories that we shared together. Through my exchange students, I was able to trash that old habit of not wanting to make friends, because at the end of the day, I realized that everyone deserves a friend. Now that I've told you about how my experience with exchange students has helped me with some knowledge of my daily life and how to remove these bad habits of myself, the biggest lesson that I've learned is how to practice intentionality and to put true effort in relationships. Now, this lesson wasn't learned during the duration of their time here, but actually during the aftermath, when our close-knitted friendship now had some distance between it. I know all of us can relate when we say that the transition from high school to college definitely impacted our friendships a lot. We don't see them every day. We don't see them every lunch or every time the bell rings. It's different. In the same way, now that my exchange students have moved away, it's a bit harder to maintain our relationship. See, it was easy to have a relationship with them when we were only a trampoline away from each other. It was easy to say, "How are you?" It was easy to have lunch with them, to go out with them, hang out with them. But now, imagine we all went to the New Westminster campus. Not too bad, maybe 20, 30 minutes. Now multiply that distance by 437.5. That's now how far I am away from my exchange students. And now it's crazy to think that, I could have been so close with these people and now I'm so far. But it's not impossible to keep that relationship maintained. I've now learned to always text them when I can, call them if there's any time, or even just send photos of them that remind me of them. It's not impossible to keep a relationship maintained if true effort and true, genuine, intentional action is put to keep that connection going. Hence, I've learned that friendships should not be convenient and easy, but I've learned that through my relationships with my exchange students, that it should be something that you put true effort into. Now, when I was young, I didn't know why my parents took in exchange students, but now I think I found my own personal reasons why. Being able to experience life with all these people from across the world, I've learned about other people's cultures, how to remove that toxic habit of mine, and to learn how to be a true friend and put genuine effort. Now, whether you know someone that's from across the country or maybe you have a pen pal, I encourage you to make those relationships internationally, because you never know what you're going to be able to learn. And maybe one day we can go from this to this. Thank you.